Friends, how are you doing? Let's talk about SoFi. Let's talk about Big Bear, of course. Really good. Okay day in the market. S&P did pretty good here. We're getting closer back into a 6,000 point range here with the S&P 500. Nasdaq, Dow, all following suit. So things are happening here. I think we're able to still make good positions here and buy back in when we need to make some good money here. And let's just dig right into it. So SoFi, going over SoFi real fast. So obviously, if you know me, SoFi is this stock that it's only exciting to people when we have quarterlies. That's probably the only time people really check back in with SoFi. But SoFi's been good to us. SoFi's been able to allow a lot of investors to buy in low, sell some highs, buy low, sell some highs. Now SoFi undoubtedly is playing in this position right now. I'm kind of going to stick to this candlestick chart here just so we can see a little bit more here. Now, obviously, this is just me looking at this right here, but we're getting, it's a little more of a messy walk up here with SoFi, but this is nothing new with SoFi. It's used to messy walk ups here. So, back in February, we had SoFi right under 18 bucks. We were playing around that zone here. Then the market, DeepSeek, tariffs, all that came in, and we just had, just a colossus sell off in the market. And with that, we've been gaining back numbers here. But 2 weeks ago, we had SoFi at 14 bucks and some change. Now we're playing around this, right under 14 bucks. Today was, yesterday and today were pretty good days. But undoubtedly, we're seeing this, this struggle that came today in the market. And, I still think that SoFi undoubtedly is in a position right now to have a little more of a walk up. I would not be shocked to see SoFi get it into a run here to 1420, 1430s. I don't think that's going to be scarce ground for SoFi right now. We're definitely, it's a messy pattern, but undoubtedly there is there's a stable position of walking up here undoubtedly with SoFi. So obviously, there's that with SoFi. It's trying to get back up into this stay in this high $13 range and low $14 range, which great. If you're buying in at this position right now, you'll probably make some money here soon. So with that, the future of SoFi, like I said, the only time people are really checking back in with SoFi here is when we're having quarterlies. And, it's a wagon wheel of the same kind of path that SoFi's been on here, where they've been executing quarterlies. They've been doing fantastic. It is obviously a stock that if you're in it for the long run, you're probably going to do really good that way. If you're just sitting here buying, pretty much playing the rhythm of a squirrel, where you're just storing away nuts. You're buying SoFi and just storing it away. You're like, I don't care what the stock price is, I don't care what's going on, because they keep executing quarterlies, they keep growing, and people opening accounts with them. They're growing as a company and what they're doing, where they're spending their money. And I do think, because I'm seeing, not just because I think so, but I'm seeing this, and I think a lot of us are seeing this as individual investors, that SoFi is becoming this, once was this little bitty shark out there in the shallow water, is now going into some deeper water, and is going to become, a huge predator to, other banks that are not moving as fast as they are, lending programs, companies, other little small banks. SoFi is growing incredibly fast right now. Like, this is unusual behavior with a bank. That's why there is attention with SoFi. That's why there is a strong support right now with investors with SoFi, because it's got a really good growth, pattern with it. Not only stock price, quarterlies, but with customers. So there's a lot going on with SoFi that leads us to suspect that it's going to continue to do well all of this year, and as we know, going into next year, and undoubtedly we're going to be in a $1 billion quarterly range here. Maybe this year, If we see $1 billion quarterly show up here with SoFi, it'll at least be by Q4 of 2025 here, unless something drastic changes here with some kind of program, some kind of loan deal they have. But undoubtedly, it's moving in that direction. But the number one thing that I see with SoFi with investors is that they just grow bored of it, and I get it, man. Obviously SoFi is called SoFi Technologies, and people want to debate that it is an AI stock and it's more than just a bank, and I get that. And listen, I get that because I'm drinking the juice on SoFi. I love SoFi, and I listen. I've been here with SoFi for years now. I've been here with SoFi during COVID. I've been here since when it was $20 stock down to a $3 to $4 stock. It's $7 stock for a long time. We played around there, and now we're at this $13, $14 range. And undoubtedly, we'll be at 18 here soon enough. I really do believe that. Maybe we need one more good quarterly underneath our belt, get into this $900 million quarterly range. But undoubtedly, we're getting closer to that situation here with SoFi. So, the thing right now that I see with SoFi so much is that it's not as sexy as a lot of these other stocks that people are focusing on. I think, you'd probably be shocked to see if you were in a room with 100 people right now and you said, hey, would you rather put your money in something like Tempest or SoFi? I guarantee you the majority of people would say Tempest, just because obviously Tempest is this completely just random stock right now, random company that people didn't even know about months ago. But now that Nancy Pelosi, Kathy Woods, there's a lot wrapped up in it. It's healthcare, it's AI, it's all this stuff. The expectation, the FOMO, what it can, what it's going to do. In SoFi, balance sheet wise, is doing phenomenal, so much better than Tempest. But you have SoFi here, who's just, at the end of the day, it's a bank. It's a bank. They got loans, they got things, but they're growing, and that's the real. So I think for your hardcore investors that are looking for long-term plays, looking for solid plays, they're like, you know what? Every paycheck, I have $100, and I want to put it in something that's going to grow for the next 5 to 10 years. And that sounds like a long time, but this is going in one of my portfolios that I'm just using as a long-term investment portfolio. SoFi is going to probably be something that you're looking for in that. Now, SoFi too, I would argue that SoFi is definitely a good stock to where you're able to, use it as a short trade method, weapon, where you can, a tool essentially, where you can, buy the lows, sell the highs. It's got a very, very good track record of, pushing up a lot and then falling back down to some, numbers that it's familiar with. So, SoFi, when we had the sell-off here back to $9 during the whole tariff situation, we climbed back up from 9, 10, 11, 12. Now we're in $13 range again. I think $14 undoubtedly is coming. $15 is coming here very soon. And two, if we get another good weekday in the market here, undoubtedly SoFi will press back up in that zone here. So, friends, I'm still very much paying attention to SoFi. I'm holding, a nice large chunk of SoFi. I'm optimistic. I'm excited that they're going to continue to do well all this year and probably next year. And I think undoubtedly we'll probably hear something sooner or later about, SoFi has a great CEO, Anthony, that loves to talk and is phenomenal at just popping up one day and saying, hey, this is what's going on with SoFi. And, SoFi reacts to that kind of news. So have patience. It's going to work out for you. So let's talk about BigBear. BigBear is a stock that has been good to us. It's made us a lot of money just this year alone. It's lost us money. It's made us money. If you were patient enough, you made your money back. And here's a situation that is, I think that is unfolding before us. So obviously last night I talked about the stock offering. I don't really talk about that much more because I've already talked about it. I think everyone knows about it at this point. Obviously, the lawsuit deal situation, that's wrapping up next week. I would suspect that will help, make the stock more comfortable. So if we don't get a lot more push this week, I am speculating and curious of what next week will bring with the stock when this lawsuit deal is wrapped up and it's dead and gone, dust in the wind. Looking at this candlestick chart here, sorry, I'm about 4 cups of coffee in right now. So I've showed this many times, but I still think that we are seeing this. So obviously, like I've said, the higher we've gone with BigBear here, the lower we're gonna go until we get to a new high here. And this is normal. This is normal sell-off. This is honestly healthy sell-off what we're seeing here. So we're not seeing jagged, like deep cut wounds into Big Bear right now when we see these sell-offs. These sell-offs are healthy right now. We're seeing, am I saying Sofi? Big Bear. We're seeing Big Bear sell off into these positions of still good position here. So, today with Big Bear, we sold off into this 379 to close out, and even after hours, we're trailing back up here a little bit, back into a 380 zone. So, still, we're in good position right now with Big Bear 100%. So the investor in me goes, I'm seeing 3 shelves that have been built so far, 3 nice shelves that have taken since the end of April, all of May until now, June here, to be built. And undoubtedly, it's like the gate is about to be open here, I feel like, with Big Bear. So obviously, I want to, before I say anything else with my big mouth here, I want to address this. This Big Bear is still a dangerous situation. Until Big Bear gets one more decent size, glorious deal here, it's still a little bit of a dangerous situation. Okay, for the end of the year revenue, what we're looking for here, what we're wanting with Big Bear here, we're wanting to hit at least 180, 190 would be great, or 200 million at the end of the year here. Now, obviously, right now we're playing around 160 to 170s in revenue, 1 million. But obviously, I think a lot of that is still going to change because it's still very early in the year, and a lot could happen here with deals still yet. But what I'm talking about, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think we're in the making here with these shelves. The next build up, the next little run that we could see here going with Big Bear is somewhere in this $4.80, $5 position, 5 being great. Now, obviously, I back in February when we had that run into $10 and some change, I don't know that we're going to see that of aggressive push again, okay? At the moment, okay? Now, obviously, I hope I'm completely wrong about that. I hope we do, but I'm seeing that what we're witnessing right now, to me, this is a lot more of a healthy push-up with a stock. This is taking quite some time to get these staircases made. I mean, look how beautiful they are. I mean, obviously, you've got the April sell-off, and then you've got one shelf being built back into $3 position, sell back down to under $3, push back into some higher $3 range, mid $3 range. Now we come back in our third shelf here. We're back in some $4 range here. Now we're selling off again, still at a high. When we look at the second shelf at $3.80. Now, if 380, maybe 370, 60 tomorrow, if it will support and hold that, this is very telling that if we can get back into a $4 range here this week, we're still early in the week, I do think Big Bear will break off into a 450, 480 zone, somewhere in there. And obviously, I would love some good news to be thrown our way. And like I said, this is all, meeting together in an intersection here by next week. That, this lawsuit deal is supposed to be over. Big Bear undoubtedly could be in some better range here, $4 range here by then. If not, if we don't get to $5 by then. And two, I'm hoping any day, maybe, hopefully, Big Bear, we're hoping for another deal. I mean, that is the main thing. They need more money. They need more deals, undoubtedly. When you're investing in stock, the number one thing you want is for a company to be making money. Now, obviously, when we talk about the longevity, obviously, I'm talking about short term right now with this candlestick chart, because I think a lot of us are trying. There's obviously people playing this different. This right now is for people that are trying to swing trade this thing and make money. That because I think a lot of us have been doing that. Big Bear has allowed investors to really make some money right now with these huge cliffs that it's been building. It's been very obvious what's going on here. So, because I know a lot of you bought in today. I was seeing comments on my channel, on chat rooms where people are like, I just loaded up X amount of shares because I'm expecting that this is going to move back up into $4 here very soon. So with that, that's short moment here. That's a short moment. What we're expecting, hopefully this week, going into next week. Okay. Now, obviously, long term, for the people that are going to come on here and be like, Big Bear's got problems. They still need more money. Friends, I have been preaching this since since I started yapping about Big Bear here last year. Undoubtedly, Big Bear has debt. They've got to get debt paid off. Why is debt so bad? Because big money, big investors, Wall Street, they don't like debt. That's why Jim Cramer, when he's talked about Big Bear, he obviously does not like it. And two, what's funny, when that last put... I love Jim, but this is the funny part of it, is that Jim talked in February. He said on his show that Big Bear was a meme stock and it was never going to do much more than what it's doing right now with what it has. Well, just after that, that's when Big Bear was pushed too, because I think too, Jim talking about this little AI stock that was affordable, people were like, what's that over there? So you already had this mass of people that were looking at Big Bear, and then all these new people, I swear, came in and they were like, well, I'm going to buy this Big Bear stock, and Big Bear just started running. We hit $5, $7, then we pushed to 10 and over. That was that February push there, and obviously there was good news wrapped up in there. The market was going crazy. Big Bear received another partnership deal at that point. So there was a lot going on right there in that feeding frenzy. Now, now we're in this situation of this is just pure work. I mean, this 1, 2, 3, 4 we're thinking we're in right now, push with Big Bear. This is just pure investors pushing. This is just a complete grinding out here that we've been working on here with Big Bear. So I'm suspicious that we are going into a fourth run here with Big Bear very soon. Like I said, talking about the long-term situation with Big Bear, I am still very optimistic that Big Bear, undoubtedly, I think it's pretty obvious at this point, even with Q1 done. It still missed quarterly here, but it was very close, just under $200 million, barely that. That Big Bear is going to have a much better year financially. So, my main concern right now for a long-term investment with Big Bear is that they at least just keep the stock somewhere in this $4 to $6, $7 range here the whole year. That would be great. By Q4 of this year, I'm hoping that Big Bear can at least get on a track record with their new CEO, these new contracts. Who knows what we're going to have by then? Stay far away from a reverse split, anything like that. And that Big Bear can get into this meeting quarterlies, paying off debt, having some nice deals lined up going into 2026, and then we see kind of the process repeat itself going into 2026 with capturing more deals, maybe more defense deals, but undoubtedly some just deals in general from other companies. And this is kind of where the conversation comes up with the similarities of Palantir too, because, obviously just a quick history lesson, Palantir 2.5 years ago, it started to really move on these defense contracts. And that's what really pushed it into new area with other companies too, when, companies were reaching out to them saying, hey, we know you're working with the government, we want to see what you have and work with you. So undoubtedly, I think history could repeat itself here with Big Bear. Now, obviously, for the person wanting to leave a vicious comment, yes, I know Palantir and Big Bear are completely two different beasts when we talk about revenue, money, where they're at, here, there. I completely agree. I know, bud. I know. So I am optimistic that Big Bear is going to continue to push here. I think we are in a push. I think it's very obvious. Everyone sees it. You don't have to be a genius to see what's going on here. Now, obviously, there's a lot of factors that go into this. Some big factors with Big Bear right now is that this lawsuit deal ends. It doesn't get pushed anymore. The stock offering, it's wrapping up here, going to be done. And then two, the market support here, that the market keeps just moving steadily here. Yeah, at least that much we want here. And in 3, 4, wherever we're at right now, is that there's just no pop up bad news with Big Bear. So that's another thing here. So if the current keeps going the way it's going here, I do think that we're going to be back up in a little chisel back up the mountain here. So friends, I'm happy. I'm optimistic. I am excited. I am thinking that we are seeing some better things coming here. I want to wish all of you the best of luck. I really do mean that. I think anyone can do well in this market, and there are so many opportunities that lie before us. Friends, take care of yourself. I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.